Hawk sports fans, welcome back to the channel. I just want to say before we do get this interview started with my man here, Connor Matthews, shout out to Owen Norman. He's the creator, front man of Over the Top Talk. Connor and him are good friends. I believe Connor's having Owen over to Mom's Basement MMA for 319. They've got a great relationship. So just want to say shout out to Owen Norman for getting us connected. Connor's an awesome guy. He's communicated with me now for 2 weeks. So we're finally making it happen for you guys. Me and Connor also have similar interests. So you're in for a banger today. But we got Connor Matthews joining us. Connor, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on here and talk to our fans, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. So I just want to start off by asking right now, how's life going for you currently, and how's the family doing? And also, I heard off camera that you were telling me that you have some news to talk about, some new fights that just got released right before this interview started. So I know your girls fighting. I know you got some guys fighting from Mom's Basement MMA. So just kind of run down how you're doing in life right now and what we got going forward for these fights coming up.
The life has definitely been really great, man. Life's been awesome. Definitely big changes, going from fighting in the UFC and that being my entire life to, kind of being able to chase different avenues. So like right now I've been really focusing on my gym, Mom's Basement MMA. Ever since I stopped fighting, you know what I mean? That's kind of been my next focus is as my goal my whole life, to be honest, is to make it as far as I can in the sport. And then after, forever how far I make it is to kind of become a coach and train people and have my own gym. That's always been my goal. So, that's what I'm pursuing right now. Unfortunate the way my UFC career went, an 0-3 wasn't really, the way I really wanted to go out. But, just for me, the way I made it though was really the story for me that really is like, I was what 28, 29 when I came back, or I think I was 27 actually when I came back to fighting. I got signed to the UFC when I was 30. So, going from like my military career and doing all that and then still making it to the UFC, going on the Contender Series twice, going on Dana White's looking for a fight, and then, making it to the UFC for me was, quite, just I'm very happy for everything I accomplished in that sense. But yeah, so that was awesome. Now I'm focusing. I got some other things going on. I got a job as a firefighter up here in Massachusetts. So going through the fire academy, that's going to be a big change for me, and running my gym. So and like you said, I've been focusing more on my gym, so now I can actually kind of put the time and energy into other fighters. That when you're fighting as a professional UFC fighter, like you gotta like I have to be my own focus. You know what I mean? I can't spend the time like holding pads for everybody and training and putting focus on other people. I got to focus on myself to fight. And so now I can actually put that energy into other people. So it's been great, man. I got just coming up here in September 13th. I got three fighters fighting out of my gym at Cage Titans up here in New England. Jude Voss is making his second fight. He's one of my first students I've ever had, and I trained him from day one to stepping into the octagon. He's 1-0 right now. He just fought back in I think it was February or March time frame. And so he's 1-0. We're just getting him back up, get him back on the horse, have him fight again. We got Drew Arpin. He's another fighter that I've been working with. I think with for his first two fights. He works with some other coaches, Hook and Roll, which is one of my friends, one of my coaches, Jim. He works with myself and Lozon MMA. So he's been all over. But me and him have been working with him a lot, getting him ready. And then we just got news, literally just right before this podcast, is my girlfriend got a fight too. So,
So
we're gonna get her back ready. She hasn't fought, I think, in 2 or 3 years. It's been since she's got back to the cage. So. I'm excited. She's been really like dialed in, focused, training the last couple of really the last like 8 months. So I'm really excited to see her get back in, and yeah, it's really a lot of good, great things happening now. Like I said, I had to be selfish, and now I can kind of put into all the guys that people that have been around me my entire career, and give back to them and get them ready for some fights.
that is awesome, man. And thank you for sharing that with us. Like you said, guys, it was just announced. Obviously a big month ahead. I mean, we're actually a month out exactly from the time of this interview from September 13th. So that's awesome. Good luck to all three of them. I hope they all win. I know you'll probably have them as ready as they can be. So I can't wait to see that happen. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. I want to ask you though to kind of focus back on you. You did start off by talking a little bit about yourself of how you had to
Yeah.
be selfish for yourself. You couldn't be, holding pads all the time, doing stuff for others, even though you want to be doing that. I understand that being a coach now too. It's hard for me not to want to play, but I do want to kind of rewind to kind of your childhood. I
Yep.
saw that you had been fighting since you were 3 years old.
Yeah.
I just want to know, how did you know at such a young age that this is ultimately something that you probably want to be around at least the rest of your life? Because I feel like most 3-year-olds, at that time, they're just getting a ball in their hand or a ball at their feet, depending on what sport it is. But for you, like, since you were 3, you've been fighting, man. Like, that's truly tremendous to be able to
Yeah.
identify at such a young age that that's what you want to do. So how did that come up?
Obviously, so I got, my brothers wanted to do martial arts when I was really young. He was always 4 years older than me, so he was probably 7 or something like that. And then he started going to do martial arts. And then obviously, when I was a little kid, you always want to do whatever your brother's doing. And that's when I found my first time in a martial arts gym. And then I just always loved it. Ever since I was a little kid, I remember the instructors telling my parents, like, "Oh, he's a fighter." You know what I mean? He likes it. Blah, blah, blah. So my entire life, I loved karate. I liked those like kung fu movies. I liked the Power Rangers. I
Yeah,
like Ninja
I love it.
Turtles.
Hell yeah.
So I loved all that stuff when I was a kid. So like I would be out in the backyard just like fighting ghosts and shadow boxing essentially, not just playing. And that's just what I did my entire life. And I think like that was just the natural progression. That was where I had fun doing as a kid, and just translated that into real martial arts. And I was off and on because of other sports. I played high competitive hockey. I played football in high school. I played martial arts was always like that thing that I went to in between sports, in between different things. And I always left and came back, and I wasn't consistently fighting my entire life. But it was always for me. It was like a therapeutic thing. Like when I was like a young kid, and my brother was always like bullying me or something like that, I would go, like, I'd go into the gym, just like hit the bag and just to get my frustration and my anger out. High school, same thing. Whenever I was running into issues, I just go into the gym and train. And, that's kind of what essentially why I came back to fighting initially, is because when I came back from Afghanistan, I was just kind of going through it. And the gym has always been like my sanctuary and my spot where I go to just kind of like, get my mind off of things and just train because I love martial arts. I've always been passionate about martial arts. And, yeah, that's how I got into it, man. And that's why my goal in my life was to open up my own gym, and and that's what I love to do is share that with other people and anybody who's struggling or has anything going on in their life. I think martial arts is just a great tool for everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I mean, I feel like I am the oldest sibling in my family, so I can't attest to this. But if you're a younger sibling, you definitely get thrown into the fire a little bit quicker than the oldest one does. So that obviously helped shape you a lot. Going through that, obviously having your military background as well to come back from Afghanistan. That's really neat, and I think that a lot of people don't realize that oh, well, he's just a fighter because he's always angry and stuff like that. But for you, I feel like most fighters that were successful, they've made it to the UFC level. Um, it's just a comfort place for you guys.
Yes.
Everybody in life has to have that safe place that they go to whenever the rest of the world is just maybe not going their way. So that's so awesome. I'm happy for you that you got to identify what was going to be that safe spot for you throughout the rest of your life at such a young age. That's so dope. I absolutely love that, man.
Yeah, man, it's been, I mean, I'm very lucky, and I'm very lucky to have that tool in my for whatever goes on in my life. I know I can always go into a gym and just do what I want to do, so and just get my mind off of things. So I'm just lucky I figured that out at a young age, and I've just been able to go back and reapply it to my life. So that's my goal. It's just try to for other people too. Same thing. Is just trying to help them out and and train martial arts. And I also like, now I saw what it takes to get myself to the UFC, and
That's
you know what I mean? Now I learned so many different skills, and I just want to like help out these guys coming underneath me and trying to like pass on my information, everything I learned, and give it to them as best as possible.
absolutely. And I think that that's really well said right there. I probably couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you, obviously you have such a big history with the fighting, like we just mentioned. What do you think, if you had to pick one, is like the biggest lesson that you've learned from fighting just over all these years?
I mean, you just learn about going from rock bottom and then sometimes, so like let's just talk about like my first time making it to the contender series. Like, I was 5-0. I like it took me a lot just to even get myself on the contender series for the first time, and then I fought against Francis Marshall, and I lost. So I kind of went from this like, I worked all my life to get my shot to fight in the UFC and get in front, it's not fight in the UFC, but fight in front of Dana White and trying to earn my contract, and I lost. So I was just kind of like after that it was like there was a really down like a low period in my life where I was like, oh, like was that all just like a waste of time? The last 6 years after getting out of the military or whatever it was, when 6 years, it was like 4 or 5 years, but like getting out of the military and just like like I could have re-enlisted in the military, which like they were throwing crazy bonuses at us at the time. A very secure career field. I had a fun job in the military. I mean, I was jumping out of planes, scuba diving, traveling around the world. I was doing cool stuff being a combat controller. So like to give all that up to pursue this dream of fighting in the UFC and then not winning, I was like, kind of rock bottom. But instead of just like giving up on it and doing something else, I kept on pushing through, and then I end up just by luck getting that opportunity for Dana White's looking for a fight, coming back to Boston, fighting on that. Dana gave me another opportunity to come back on the contender series and to fight a 10-0, like, fighting nerds prospect, a guy who fought at one of the best gyms in the world. You know what I mean? He was 10-0. This guy was a monster. He was like 6'3", 6'3", and then to win that fight and earn my contract, it was like the most like I can't even kind of describe the feeling. You know what I mean? Just to win that after all that ups and downs and like losing everything, just pushing through because you had something in your heart that you believed in that would come true. And when everybody else is probably doubting you, or when you shouldn't kind of keep doing that, you know what I mean? I kind of went against the grain and my thought process against my family, everybody. You know what I mean? And they think, you should get a job, you should start worrying about what you're gonna do for the rest of your life, all this other stuff. And I just kind of pushed through, and it just created a lot of just fulfillment for me to be able to accomplish that. You know what I mean? It's like whatever you believe in your heart, you just got to kind of push out. You kind of ignore what everybody else thinks, and you just kind of push on through. And that's when the most rewarding things come out of your life.
Absolutely. And I think something that you just said that sticks with me is like nobody in life, especially something that you dream about and something you push so hard for, man. Like you just work for that all the time. It hurts so bad. You have so many doubts whenever that dream gets backfired a little bit. I mean, even with me, like the YouTube channel, playing semi-professionally in soccer and at the college level, I know exactly what you mean by saying like, dang, like there's so much noise around you, like you need to get a job, you need to do this instead. Oh, you can do this to be better. This is what's hurting you. So
Yeah.
I really did feel that whenever you said that. It does put you in a different world, and you kind of got to distance yourself and find a comfort spot like the gym. So I really appreciate the message you shared right there because I relate to that so heavily. I can't say
Yeah.
I understand your story because everybody's story is different, but I hear where you're coming from at least. So that was very powerful. I appreciate the message. And
Awesome.
I feel you on that, man. But just after everything you've been through, I have to ask this because I did just mention that I did play semi-professionally soccer and then played at the college level.
That's
I'm a
awesome.
soccer coach as well. So I wanted to ask you, since you're also a coach, obviously way different sport, MMA and soccer, little bit of a difference there. But um, what do you think is the best advice that you could give people that are just getting into coaching or people that are maybe on the fence about like, I don't know if I want to get into coaching. I kind of just want to retire and be away from this. What's like your biggest, I guess, motivation spills
Oh,
for that?
for coaching, I do feel like coaching isn't for everybody. You know what I mean? It takes a certain kind of person to coach. So even if you're a good player, doesn't necessarily you're always going to be a great coach. You know what I mean? Some of the best players aren't good coaches, and some of the players that aren't good become really good coaches. You know what I mean? So there's really it doesn't that really equates to that. But I say this about anything. It's like there's no way to really start anything besides just fucking figuring it out and doing it. And just like anything else I've done in my life, you just got to crash and fail 1,000 times before you start figuring it out. I'm still failing as a coach sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what the hell that kid, what I just did today. Like I wasn't that good, and you know what I mean? Because not every day is gonna be your best. You know what I mean? Like I always say this, like Sometimes you try to give 25%. Your 100% is only 25% of you. You know what I mean? Or some days you go in there and you're a great coach. You're flowing. You're teaching the best techniques. And you get everybody working good and you're running good energy. It's just the biggest thing, and like for everything I've ever done, is just consistency. That's what it really comes down to, man. It's just like following your schedule or whatever you got to do set up even when you don't want to. Instead of those days you're like, oh, I'm not feeling it, I don't really feel like coaching today, I don't really want to do it, that you got to get going there and do it anyways. And that's kind of you know um that's kind of what I try to do as a coach. Like, I'm not always the best coach, but I always try to be the best coach, the best I possibly can be, and lead by example. That's one thing that I've always kind of took there. One of the some of the things I was doing near the end of my fighting career was even not because I didn't even think, like, I was like, I gotta do this because, like, my last fight, I took my last fight in like 10 days notice or something like that. And I took that because, like, I knew if, like, I had a fighter underneath me and I said no to that fight, I couldn't ask them to be able to take a 10 days notice fight. You know what I mean? I gotta lead by example and show them, like, hey, I can do this. I can make weight in 10 days, and just, because that's my job, and stay ready to be able to do something like that. So I can expect that out of them. If I didn't do that, they could never look at me and be like, well, you never did that. You know what I mean? So I always think that I'm a big, like, lead by example, not by telling people. And that's what I try to do day in and day out.
Absolutely. I feel like leading by example and consistency, I feel like is the other one you really touched on there. That's
Yeah.
really gain the respect of others, especially whenever you're coaching a team,
Yes.
specific thing where you're around a big group of people, because it might be easy to get a few people to buy into what you're trying to do, but to get a group to buy into what you want to do, you got to have that consistency and you definitely have to lead by example. Otherwise, you're not going to gain their respect. So I feel like those are very good points from you. I totally agree with you on that. So that was well said. But
Yep.
Connor, me and you talked a little bit about this through DM already. I did some research, obviously. You guys see my hat right here that I'm wearing. Uh,
Yeah.
I know you're a golf guy, so I got to ask
Yeah.
you golf. I'm not going to, we don't, anybody that comes on here, we're not going to be boring. We're going to ask you guys. We're not going to talk about fighting the whole time, even though
Awesome.
that's why we did the channel. But now we're got to get into the fun stuff. So, Connor, do you have a favorite golf course that you've played at before that you want to shout out? And what is your favorite golf brand?
So, favorite golf course, I would have to say, is the golf course that I play at every single day is called the Resi, or the Reservation. It's in Mattapoisett, Massachusetts. It's right next to my parents' house. And it's only a 9-hole course, and that's just like my day out. But I love it because it's right on the water. It's like beautiful views right next to the beach. And I play there every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah, just about right now, every single day. I shouldn't be playing every single day, but I do play there about every single day. And I love it because it's a quick 9 holes. I can get in there, get it, get it done in like an hour, hour and a half maybe, and just play nine. And I love it. Um, I've been addicted this year. I mean, I really, so I got into golf because last year I made friends with this guy, Jacob Lacko. He played for the Boston Bruins. And they invited me to go and play golf with them at the end of their season. They got knocked out of playoffs, before they got shipped back to wherever, went home and stuff for the summer. They invited me to come out to Granite Links, which is like great outside of Boston, beautiful golf course. And that was nice. But I didn't play too much before that, so it was just awful. I was just shanking it. It was a hard golf course, like a real golf course, and I was just shanking into the woods all day. I just played terrible, and I'm playing with like Brad Marchand, and like I was literally in a car with Brad Marchand at one point, like driving around talking to him. We were shooting the shit about concussions because he just went through a bad concussion that part of the year,
That's
and so it was pretty cool. But so that's what after that I was like, all right, I need to like get good at golf, and that's what I've been doing like the last, ever since that, probably too much golf, to be honest. I think my fighting career would have been a little bit better if I didn't golf so much. But but I've been loving it, man. I'm addicted. Um, but my golf brand, my favorite golf brand, I like this company called Hooli. It's ran by a Navy SEAL, so he's another a fellow special operations guy. And like the first time I saw it, I was at the UFC PI, and they have a little gift shop in there. And I was like looking at these golf shirts, and one of the shirts has like this like special operations guys. Like one guy's skydiving, one guy's like in a bow, like shooting guns and stuff. I was like, and it says UFC on the side on the sleeve. I'm like, dude, this is like my perfect shirt. It's a golf shirt with a bunch of special operations guys, and it says UFC on it. I'm like.
yeah.
That's like perfect. I'm buying this shit. So I hit up the guy online, and then he sent me a bunch of stuff. So I've been rocking it. So Cooley's my favorite golf band right now.
That is sick, dude. I
Yeah.
honestly, I have not heard of them before. I know so many golf brands right now. I don't think I've heard of them. So after this interview's over, me and you're going to be talking about that because I'd like to see
All
what
right.
they got. But you mentioned Brad Marchand. He's on the Panthers now. So
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on that, man? Because I mean, he's a Bruins legend. I watch every single sport. That's why I mean, behind me, guys. Yes, we
Yeah.
cover MMA because UFC is my favorite thing to watch, but obviously watch other sports too. So, what's your thoughts on Brad being on the Panthers now, man? Because he's a Bruins legend.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he's always gonna be a Bruins legend. I think we all are always gonna love him in Boston. I mean, I love his little like, they call him the Rat. He's just like, I love that attitude. He's a short little guy, and he just goes out there and just. I mean, I like Brad Marchand. I'm always will. I'm a Brad Marchand fans, and you know what? It worked. He went down there and he got a another Stanley Cup. So I'm happy for him. He wanted another Stanley Cup. He was able to get it done. So I think that it is what it is. The Bruins have not been that good the last couple of years. You know what I mean? So like you need to get another cup. I mean we were good. We went like undefeated where we had a great season 2 years ago or whatever, and then
Yeah,
we just shit the bed in playoffs. But the last season wasn't too good, and so I can't hate him for that. He got his Stanley Cup. He's getting older. He's at the end of his career. You know what I mean? Hopefully we get some good trades or whatever we got for that. I don't even know what we got for that. But yeah, I love Brad Marchand. Big fan. Always will be. So
that's dope. I'm glad you brought him up because, like I said, obviously I watch all sports, so that was cool there. I didn't even know that you got to play. I didn't know you were in there with the Bruins like that. I mean, I knew you're from Mass and have some love for the Boston teams, but I didn't know that. So that's cool, man. That's cool that you were able to kind of start your golf journey there. And now since then you're like, man, fuck this. I gotta get out here and get better, man. That's dope. I love that.
yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of full circle. For me, it's like my dream as a kid was to play for in the NHL. That was actually literally my first dream is to be a
Oh
professional
wow.
hockey player.
Okay.
So yeah, so I played like juniors, and I went to high school just to play hockey. You know what I mean? I did that whole thing. Went to a prep school, and that was my whole original dream. So like for me to like kind of integrate and meet those guys through fighting was just kind of a cool way for me to like I was like, all right, cool. I didn't make it to the NHL, but I made it to the UFC, and I still got the respect of like these hockey players that I kind of looked up to my entire life. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is so neat, man. I love that for you. That's really cool. My little brother's a big hockey player too, so that's really cool. I wish it's a sport that I play because I absolutely love it as well. I'm unfortunately a Nashville Predators fan though. We are absolutely terrible now.
It's all right. We're so the Bruins now, so no worries.
So bad now. So if you're a Preds fan watching this, I'm just being completely honest. I'm so sorry. No, Jesus, man, but it's been rough to watch. But Connor, now I want to ask, what is one bucket list thing that you have not done yet that's outside of fighting? I'm assuming you probably still have a few bucket list goals, maybe now being a coach that you've transitioned into that. But is there any bucket list things that you haven't done yet that's outside of fighting that you can think of off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, yeah, I want to go like surfing in Bali. Or I want to go to Thailand too for fighting, but I guess it's not fighting. But I do want to go to Thailand and go do some Muay Thai. I want to travel the world and do some like go do some snowboarding up in like because I grew up doing a lot of extreme sports as well, like snowboarding, surfing,
Wow.
and now that I'm not fighting as much, I want to kind of get back into doing some of all those things that I've kind of been putting off. Like I've been trying to play smart the last 5, 6 years, whatever it's supposed to be being a professional fighter and just not getting hurt and not going snowboarding and doing all the stupid stuff because me and my friends we rip we go flash through the woods and hitting glades and all that stuff. So
Like Diamond,
um
probably. Like Diamond,
yeah,
probably.
exactly. So I kind of want to start just like that's my goal, man. Now right now is just like kind of live my life and just do things that are just have fun. You know what I mean? Just do things that I've still got my youth and like that's one of the things for me was like the silver lining of this whole fighting thing is like I mean I could have pushed it I could I not that I'm 100% done fighting yet, but I could have pushed it harder and kept on going back to it again and you know what I mean, and see where takes me. But like at the end of the time, it's like what's the risk to reward on like damage and like to reward it and how far you can make it. Like it's a lot of damage to take these fights. My last 3 fights is definitely took some damage from those fights. Actually, my last 5 fights have taken a lot of damage. Even if you're win or lose, you take a lot of damage. So I'm kind of like, what's the longevity in that? And then risk of like when I'm in discipline, I'm in fight camp, I can't really have any kind of fun. I can't go out and do anything, man. It's just like I'm just training, sleeping, eating. That's it, man. That's my life. So it's kind of nice to pursue all these different avenues in life. But like, yeah, I'd love to go to I want to go to Australia, go do stuff down there. I'd like to go to like Southeast Asia, do some surfing, Bali area, and yeah, just a lot of traveling. That's what I want to do.
That is awesome, man. I feel like that's such a good bucket list to have, especially now. I mean, that gives you more things to look forward to. Things that, like you said, you just can't do though. Like, you can't go hop on a snowboard.
Yeah,
You can't go surf. I mean, there's at the end of the
yeah,
day, those are really fun things to do. I've never surfed before. I've skied a lot though.
yeah,
Love that. I mean, but at the end of the day, you don't know when somebody on the slopes, maybe you and your boys are ripping, but there might
yeah,
get a guy that's going down the wrong slope, and then all of a sudden your legs are gone,
yeah.
something like that. I first time I skied, I went through the caution tape at the bottom because I went to dinner, and then at the bottom of the hill, it gets icy at nighttime, obviously because it's gonna freeze over.
Yeah, exactly.
First time going down, I went down by myself. I thought I was cooler than all my buddies. Went right through the caution tape and smacked the fence. Absolutely smacked the fence because at dinner before dinner time, the sun was out. The snow was still
Yeah,
because they made
powder.
snow. It was powder. So then when I came back out after dinner, it was nighttime, very cold, straight ice at the bottom. I learned that the hard way. So Connor knows what I'm talking about right now. So I hope I just educated you guys on that. But like Connor was saying though, you just can't do that stuff out whenever you're fighting, whenever you're a professional, especially at the level he made it to. So that is really cool now though. That is a great benefit of being retired. You can still
It's
coach, do that stuff. You can't be a professional fighter and do all those things you get to experience. So I hope you get to experience all those things, brother. That's
Thank you.
that's an absolute.
Well, but we'll see. If the right fight calls, something happens. You know what I mean? I still get the itch every once in a while. Like, all right. I mean, it's easy not to get the itch when but then we start dieting, like that's just a whole nother game. You got to start playing, and it's just like, but every once in a while, I still get the itch. I want to get back in there, and we'll see. But we'll never know. So you played? Where'd you go play college soccer at?
I played at a D2 school called Kentucky Wesleyan. We're
Nice.
the five smallest D2 schools in the country.
Yeah.
Um, surprisingly, though, we have the most NCAA men's basketball championships out of any D2 team. And Jay
Wow.
Crowder's dad played at Kentucky Wesleyan. That's
Wow, that's awesome.
we're all a bunch of no names. We do have a guy in the NFL right now. Oh my lord, I can't remember his name. He used to play for the Jags though. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just got fraud checked by my own school right there. I forget. Shout out to him. I follow him on Instagram too. I keep up with him. He was on the Jags, and I think he might have ended up on the Jets eventually.
Nice.
But yeah, that's kind of where we did. And I played semi-pro for 3 years. So now we
Where'd
are.
you play semi-pro at?
I played for Evansville Legends, and I played for the Midwest Hooligans. I know the
All
Midwest Hooligans name is very misleading, but it's a
right.
story behind it. And yeah, I got nothing but great things to say about it. It's like you said though, um, I can't go do stuff like I'm going to UFC 319 and
Yeah.
still playing soccer right now. And, having to be in shape, not eat crappy food all the time, have to
Yeah.
run, have to be practicing all day. I can't go to things like UFC 319 this weekend, and
Feel you on that.
that's just part of it, man. I've been retired, I guess, from soccer for about a year now, and I think I've went to so many more events since. I think I've been to like 4 or 5 UFC events since I've been retired. I went to one before I retired that. So like it's just like the free time thing. You know what I'm talking about though. You're a high
Yeah.
athlete. You know exactly what I'm talking about right now. So I don't even really have to say
100%.
myself. It's one of those things like if you know, you know. So but yeah,
Yeah.
cool. I appreciate you asking me that and asking the background. I'll send you pictures whenever I was actually really skinny and look. I used
Well,
to
I
believe
played soccer. I played soccer one year before in one of my hockey seasons, and it was the best cardio I've ever had going into my hockey season. I was just playing. I was like playing out of my mind. The cardio you get from playing soccer is just out of control. It's the best. So
absolutely. And there's a lot of good soccer players that are hockey players as well because you don't think about it, but the
Yeah,
football translates right over. I mean, if
does.
you're a high level hockey player, maybe not at like the youth level, like really, really small, but I mean, it's very important to be able to receive a pass with your skate.
100%. We use it all the time. Half the time in this, you're kicking up, the puck back up to your stick, or you're in the corner, you're digging it out. It's actually one of the warm ups that we used to always do to warm up to get on the ice. Is we kick around a soccer ball, we juggle a soccer around, and the
Yes.
pre-game before we go on the ice. So it's one of the things we used to always do. So yeah, definitely translate. And a lot of good soccer players become good MMA fighters because obviously there's a good translation there of just being able to kick and use your legs and check and all that. So yeah, huge translation there for sure.
Absolutely.
Athletic, very super athletic, and you have both cardios. You have the sprinting, and then you have like the long distance cardio as well. So it's like, so yeah, it worked. It's a good game. I love soccer. I played soccer a lot when I was a kid, I went to prep school, and when we weren't playing hockey in our team sports, we were always playing. There's a lot of kids from all over the different countries and stuff like that. So that's when I started playing a lot with a lot of those guys. And then I never played competitively until I got to high school. And then I made my sophomore year, I tried out and I made varsity. Never played any soccer competitively before that. But and then they realized like, oh, he doesn't really know any. I was just I was like, what, what I mean? I didn't know any of the, I didn't know offsides. I said like, I was playing only indoor soccer. You know what I mean? Like, and then they realized, oh shit. So then they moved me back down to JV after they realized that I wasn't a real soccer player.
Wow, what a bunch of haters, man. What a bunch, bro.
But I had a good time my sophomore year playing JV. It was awesome. I had a blast.
That is
So
that is sick, man. That is sick. I love to hear that. But
yeah,
I'm glad that you have respect. A lot of people from America they don't really have respect for soccer. So I appreciate
yeah.
it all the time. I've had back-to-back Brazilians on here, and we talked about soccer, and I've always mentioned like, if you don't respect soccer, then f you, whatever. But
I mean, I played football and soccer was way harder than football. So, you know what I mean? I was a running back. I was the captain of the football team, and soccer was way harder than that. So,
well, in football, obviously football, you're wearing the pads for a reason, but you don't get the breaks after every
yeah,
play. I think that's the biggest difference between like soccer and football. But I love football though. Everybody that's watching this stuff, I'm gonna have college football on Saturdays, NFL football on Sundays. I mean, it's just no other way to go about it. Split
I
screen.
love football too. So I'm not hating, but I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what I mean, I'm just saying the American, the perception of Americans about soccer is just kind of crazy.
it's so bad. It's so bad. One thing I want to bring up because um, at the time of this video, it's not posted yet, but he's actually being posted tomorrow. Your interview is being posted right now on Friday when people are watching this. But I had Bruno Silva on yesterday by the time they're watching this, and something Bruno brought up, and I want to ask you because obviously Bruno's in the UFC.
Yeah,
You have made it to the UFC. Bruno
yeah,
said something that really helped him was soccer growing up is the
yeah,
feints in soccer.
yeah,
That he was able to get reads on people because he went from soccer to fighting. And he said, dude, you don't realize it, but if you've played soccer and you transition into MMA, even little feints in soccer, you can pick up on people's punches and kicks and their reads like a lot easier if you play soccer. So I wanted to ask you, now that you've mentioned your background on that, can you see where he's coming from there?
yeah. 100%. I think that's always been a thing for me too. Even from across the board with all sports, like juking. I was really good at juking in football and just doing fakes and quick maneuvers. And that came probably from soccer and hockey too as well. Like, cause you're going down hockey, you fake passes every once in a while. You give looks, and that's the same thing with fighting. You go in there, you're faking a two, you're faking a kick. And I think the more you feint and fake is like, the better people are. I feel like Israel Adesanya and all these guys, they're big feinters, big fakers. Like, that's a super kind of athletic thing that helps people out, and I feel like, yeah, that's a huge crossover for sure. I'm a big proponent of like playing every sport, man. That's what I did my whole life, and I was very fortunate. You know what I mean? My family was always supportive, and whatever I wanted to do, you know what I mean. They would always support me to play. I played soccer, I played football, I played lacrosse, I played hockey, snowboarding, surfing, skateboarding. you
Shit.
name it, I did. I was always doing something my entire life, and I just feel like because the better you get at a skill, the more you can translate that skill to something else, and that's what fighting really is. It's like you're taking an ultimate athlete of all these different
Yeah.
skill sets from all over the place, and you put them together. The only one thing I didn't really do until I guess my sophomore junior year of high school was wrestle. I didn't I didn't even wrestle in high school. I just did
Wow.
jujitsu.
Okay, see, I
So
didn't know that. I didn't do my
yeah.
research on that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I didn't wrestle at all until really honestly I didn't really start. I did jujitsu in high school,
Mhm.
but I started wrestling after my military career. You know what I mean? I started when I came back from not even honestly like my last after my first contender series fight. I was like, oh shit, I need to learn how to
Wow.
wrestle.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
So
did not
yeah,
know that. I did not know that. Dang.
and
So,
I'm a pretty good wrestler. Like I do pretty well against anybody in wrestling when it comes down to straight wrestling for like MMA style. And I would say I'm not a American collegiate style wrestler or anything like that. But as for an MMA wrestler, I was always pretty decent. I do pretty well. So yeah, but I didn't pick that up until like later on in my life.
yeah,
So um yeah,
that is
but
that's
yeah.
crazy. So this was sophomore year of high school was the
Tell
first.
me, yeah, when I started my first time doing jujitsu, I kind of jujitsu back then though, I don't know, was just different than the jujitsu that we have going on in today for sure. It was not the same. It was just like totally different to how the skill level and what it looks like today. So, it was just more holding people like we were like holding guard and all these different positions. Like nowadays, it's just so high level and it's so much better than it was back then. So. Definitely, even from I would say 2013 to 2000 and 18 when I started fighting, like the skill level in jiu-jitsu just exploded. I think it had a lot to do though with the internet. Just
Oh,
YouTube became a way bigger thing, so people just started watching YouTube videos and getting their skill and knowledge off of YouTube, which before that, it was just you had to go to a school to learn something, and it just kept everything so stagnant until YouTube came out. It gets across the board with martial arts, I guess.
yeah. Wow. That's really neat, man. That is really cool. I did not know like you played all those different sports. I guess like the only sport I could think of that you didn't mention was maybe basketball. Is that like
I
the
now, yeah, I played middle school basketball. Basketball is the only one sport I say I'm not good at. I can dribble and I can steal the ball. I can't shoot for shit. I throw freaking air balls all day, but I can steal the ball really good, play good defense. I made the when I was in middle school, I because that's what everybody was like the cool thing to do to make the basketball team, and I wanted to make the basketball team in middle school. So
fan from
I
you? Yeah.
yes, I worked hard and I made it, but I sucked at it. I was not a good basketball player. I'll tell you that. This one.
I thought he has named he's played every other sport. I was like the only one I could think of they did mention was probably basketball. That's the main sport.
But basketball, I would say, like I said, basketball helped me with my hands in hockey. I noticed going back into my hockey season after playing a season of basketball, my stick handling was so much better, which is, you know what I mean? Which is a weird translation, but it definitely was.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely does. But yeah, if you're watching this video right there, I think Connor's the perfect example of if you're thinking about playing a sport and you are younger, absolutely go for it. And, playing all these different sports, they do translate. You can play a sport like soccer where you're constantly just kicking a ball around, not as much contact as other sports like MMA and football, but there is translations there. So if you get anything from the message that we're sharing right now, is to play sports because they are going to translate. And at the end of the day, you're becoming a better athlete no matter what you're playing. So,
Yeah, and I would say for like parents think that like, oh, if you want your kid to go like D1 in this sport, just have them practice this sport. Or I think you're really limited your kid as an athlete. Even if they really want them to be like whatever sport you pick, say they want them to be a good soccer player, even though like I feel like you're really limited to their abilities by just focusing on having them only play soccer. I think that yeah, you can keep on going back to soccer over and over again as they get older, but I think you should always go away from a sport, practice something else, and then come back, and you'll see that a lot of different things will translate and make them actually better at soccer. You know
absolutely.
what I mean?
And
So
I think my last thing, I guess, to touch on that is if you do play other sports, it's a lot easier as a kid to not get burned out on it either, which could raise your longevity of actually playing the sport and your love for it. I feel like so. I guess
yeah,
that's kind of like my final thoughts on the whole. Like playing different sports type of thing there. I don't know
Yeah.
if you agree with that or not, but I feel like burnout. A lot of kids get burnout early because they're thinking
Uh-huh.
like, you got to play this sport, you got to play this sport. Like you're not playing nothing else. We're focusing on this, and I feel like that does limit a lot of young athletes from potentially moving their longevity to whatever sport they want to play or pursue later on. So I guess that's just like kind of my final thoughts on it. So
100%. Totally agree.
oh, cool. I'm glad we both agree about that. See, I knew whenever I got a hold of this guy, I knew we'd have a good conversation. But I have gotten some the tricky part of it now, Connor. So I recently just introduced the final bell. It's my second to last question. I always ask the fighters. It's
All
five
right.
questions, and you got to answer if you'd rather do this or that. So
All
my
right.
first one with the golf background, I have to ask. This is the biggest debate right now in golf.
All right.
Team Bryson, Team Rory.
I so I'm gonna say Team Bryson. I like Rory. It's not that I don't like Rory. I'm not like against, but I've been watching so much Bryson lately and I just like the way he looks. He's so super competitive. Everybody gets mad at him because of how analytical and the way he looked at the game, but I just think it just seems like a very smart way to look at the game. And it just seems intelligent to me. And he's just super, super, super competitive. And I respect him. You know what I mean? I respect it a lot.
Yeah,
Team
dude,
Bryson.
he's absolutely killing it right now. I'm the same as you. I don't hate Rory, but I'm also obviously Team Bryson. He's
Yeah.
smashing it right now with the YouTube content. The dude has
Yeah.
completely changed his like personality and shown the world who he truly is the past few years, and people have grown to love him. So I'm
Yep.
also Team Bryson. Love that answer from you. Great breakdown of it. But my next one involves just random food. Are you a taco guy, or are you gonna grab wings instead?
I would say taco over wings for sure. Yeah.
Hell yeah. I actually just ate tacos before I came on here, ironically. So I did not just come up with that question. That was
It's funny you say that because today my gym's at my mom's house in the basement and I was sitting down there. It was like 7:30 end of class and I could smell upstairs and I'm like, oh, my mom's making tacos upstairs right
hell
now. I could
yeah.
smell it from downstairs and I didn't get any, but I could smell it. But yeah, I'm a taco guy for sure.
Let's go. Hey, Taco Wednesday, everybody. You heard it.
Yeah.
Me and Connor started that off. But yeah, Taco Wednesday. Taco Wednesday it is. But now my next one is Connor. Are you an ice bath guy or a sauna guy?
Ooh, good one. I would say I started off as an ice bath guy, became a sauna guy.
But
So I feel like there's more benefits out of doing saunas for sure. I think what happened was is I was all about ice baths and I did too many of them and then you get diminishing returns real fast on ice baths. Like instead of like actually making yourself sadder, I think you just keep breaking yourself down. For me it was like a mental thing. I was like, all right, I'm doing a 5 minute ice bath at 40 degrees because my fight's 5 minutes. So if I can stay calm and relaxed for 5 minutes, but I think it was like kind of starting to like have like my body, it wasn't good for me, you know what I mean? Because I was just going too much into it. But I still think ice baths are good for you. I still, every once in a while, I think you should definitely hop in an ice bath and do them. But overall, beneficial sauna guy. I love saunas. You don't ask my like. I want a sauna so freaking bad, but I just don't have $10,000 hanging around right now. So, eventually, hopefully, I can just get a sauna. But we're working on that. That's the big purchase. The next big purchase is sauna.
okay, there we go. That's another bucket list thing too to get that.
Yeah, that is. I'd say that's probably that's high up there right now. I'll tell you what, getting myself a nice sauna.
Hey, you got it, man. You got it. I know how you're rocking. My last one is though, and this might be easy. I'm assuming this isn't an easy one for you. Patriots or Celtics?
Patriots. I don't really follow too much basketball to be honest. Like you said, I didn't really play too much basketball growing up. I do watch the Patriots. I love Sundays. I love football Sundays. So I'm a big Patriots guy for sure.
Hell yeah. Okay. Well, that was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. I thought I was gonna get you there. I was like, oh, he's gonna like tear on this one, but
Yeah.
it's obviously arguably the most historical franchise in the NFL. Obviously,
In all sports, yeah. I mean,
and
I watched the Bryson Tom Brady breaking 50 today actually. So it's kind of funny you say that.
got the Michigan hat right here too.
Let's go.
Tom Brady, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. Love it.
Tom Brady. As I'm wearing a Kentucky shirt too.
Yeah.
That's a different time. I'm from Kentucky. My dad's side of the family's from Michigan, though, so I'm not a bandwagon. Everybody, I promise. I'll show the receipts too of me being a little kid and being both teams for Halloween. But Connor, I have gotten my final question. I ask every single fighter I have on here. What's your final message to the fans that watch this interview to continue to tune into Mom's Basement MMA and just continue to follow your career? Obviously, right now you're doing your thing with coaching, but you said that you're still getting that edge. So, what's the
Yeah.
final message overall that you got to the fans that tuned into this interview?
I just say stay tuned. I got a lot of good fighters coming up underneath me at a Mom's Basement in my gym, and I feel like some some future stars in the making right now. So just stay tuned and watch that, and you never know, I might be get hop back in there for you know. I can't leave my career off on a loss. It's always gonna eat at me. You know what I mean? So I gotta get back in there, get a win, and put myself back in the winning column. And there's probably some money to be made out there, some other kind of fight. So not
Yeah.
gonna say no. Just stay tuned, and hopefully, after I get through this Fire Academy, and I guess should be done in January. We'll start seeing what's going on, see what the world's looking like.
Okay, so
2026.
we could have an interesting 2020.
Yes,
Not as if your life isn't interesting right now, but there could be more added to it in 2026. So it's
I
definitely
think so.
Connor, you're absolutely welcome to come on this channel anytime you want, man. That was a fantastic chat. Thank you so much again for not only coming on the channel tonight, but being so well with communicating with me. That
Yeah.
really shows how much respect you have for other people, even people random like me that you've never spoke to in person until now. I feel like we've been friends forever now after the chat we just had, if I'm being completely honest. But thank you so much
Okay.
for coming on here and sharing just everything you did. You made it super easy to get to know you. Open book tonight. I mean, I hope that people that maybe didn't know you before this, if they are tuning into this, that they do know you well now, because there were some very powerful messages, and I appreciate you sharing everything. So can't thank you
Appreciate
enough, brother. We'd love to have you back
it.
on here, especially after the fights on September 13th.
Yeah.
A lot to talk about then. Maybe we could do it then. That'd be an absolute honor to have you back on. But thank you so much, brother. Connor,
Thank
Matt,
you.
buddy. Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And if you ever find yourself up in the New England area, Boston area, please don't be shy. Hit me up, and yeah, I'll show you around Mom's Basement, or maybe if there's a fight next year in UFC Boston, you come down here. I know I'll definitely be going to the show. So let me know. We can link up then.
Absolutely, man. There's so many great venues in sports to go to Boston. So maybe it's not even UFC. Maybe I could do
Yeah.
something else where I'm a big Pacers guy too.
Let's go.
So maybe we could do Pacers and Celtics or something like that. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you too, buddy.
I call you brother now because that's what you are to me. So, ladies and gentlemen, Connor Matthews, big 2026 ahead, but we still got unfinished business in 2025. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight.